For as long as I can remember, humanoid robots have been pure science fiction, right? These incredibly advanced, intelligent machines just walking around among us. Well, that sci fi world is quickly becoming science fact, and it's happening a lot faster than you might think. In fact, one company just made a move that might just change everything.
And I'm not talking about some research prototype locked away in a lab or a pilot program for a giant corporation. I mean, you, right now, going online and putting your name down for your very own production-ready humanoid robot. It sounds kind of impossible, but a German company just went and did it.
And this is the number that completely dropped jaws at CES 2026. Robotics announced that for just €100, a fully refundable deposit, by the way, you could get in line for their next-gen humanoid. I mean, that's less than a new video game console. But of course, that's not the whole story. And here's the full picture. The top-of-the-line 4-in-1 model is going to set you back €98,000. So while that deposit is super accessible, let's be clear, this is a very serious piece of high-end technology. But the fact that it even has a price tag for an individual to buy, that's what's so revolutionary here. So this is the key point. This move by Robotics, they are one of the very first Western companies to just completely sidestep the traditional B2B sales model and basically say, hey, if you've got the money, you can buy one. This is a huge, huge shift from only selling these things to massive corporations. All right, so let's meet the machine that's at the center of all this buzz. What exactly is the 4NE1? Okay, so this is not just a collection of motors and sensors. The first thing you have to notice is that design partnership. It was actually developed with Studio FA Porsche to look athletic, clean, approachable. The whole goal was to create a robot that you'd actually feel comfortable working alongside, not something that feels alien or threatening. Now, Nura is offering two versions. You've got the flagship, the Gen 3.5. That's the tall, powerful model we've been talking about, and it's priced at that €98,000 mark. But then there's also the 4NE Mini. It's smaller, lighter, and way more affordable at around €20,000. And that one's aimed more at researchers and educators. The specs on that flagship model are seriously impressive. It can carry up to 100 kilograms, that's about 220 pounds, and it has these incredibly dexterous hands for really fine, detailed work. But the real standout feature is its patented tactile skin. This lets it feel contact so it can work safely right next to people. No cage needed. And that is a huge deal for collaboration. But of course, the hardware is only half the story. The brain behind all that brawn is a platform called the Neuroverse. And honestly, the best way to think of it is like a smartphone app store. One robot learns a new skill, say how to operate a complicated coffee machine, and that skill can then be downloaded by every other robot on the network. They learn together, and they improve together. Okay, but Nura isn't operating in a vacuum, right? So where does this big announcement fit into the larger picture of what's become a global humanoid race? I mean, we've come such a long way since Honda's Asimo first wowed everybody back in 2000. And in the last few years, companies like Tesla and Figure AI have generated enormous hype, but their robots are still mostly in these limited corporate pilot programs. Nura's presale in 2026, that marks a totally new milestone, actual commercial availability. Broadly speaking, the market has kind of split into two camps. In Asia, you've got companies like Unitree that are really focused on high volume and affordability, just getting robots out there for research. Then in the West, the focus has been on these premium, ultra-safe robots for huge industrial partners. What Nero's trying to do is find a middle ground, a premium Western robot that you can actually buy directly. And that really brings us to the real disruption here. It's not just about the technology, it's the entire business model. This quote pretty much captures their whole mission. It's all about democratizing access, taking these unbelievably advanced robots out of the exclusive hands of giant corporations and putting them into the hands of developers, smaller companies, maybe even individuals. So how are they doing it? Well, it kind of breaks down into three simple steps. First, direct online sales, like we talked about. Second, they provide open software development kits, SDKs, so that anyone can create new applications for the robot. And third, that Neuroverse app store lets all those creations be shared, which creates this incredibly powerful ecosystem. So why does this matter so much? Because it could massively, and I mean massively, accelerate innovation. Instead of development just happening slowly behind closed corporate doors, you could have thousands of users out in the real world providing feedback and building new skills. It's the exact same model that made the smartphone industry just explode. So let's zoom all the way out. What are the broader implications of all of this? What does a world with accessible humanoid robots actually start to look like? Well, there are two massive potential upsides right off the bat. First, in countries like Germany that have aging populations, these robots could fill really critical labor shortages in manufacturing and logistics. And second, they could provide home assistance for the elderly or for people with disabilities, which could completely revolutionize care. But, we have to be realistic here. There are huge challenges. That price tag is still far too high for the average person, and production delays are pretty common in this industry. And then you get to the bigger questions. What happens to certain jobs, and how do we prove these machines are truly safe in unpredictable real-world environments? These are massive hurdles that go way beyond just engineering. So when you boil it all down, the ultimate takeaway is this. The shift is happening. This announcement accelerates the transition of humanoids from just being interesting experiments locked away in labs to becoming potential colleagues, working right beside us. So Nura has put the humanoid era up for sale. The technology is here, and now it has a price tag. The only question left is a really big one. Are we, as a society, ready to buy in?